Hey guys, so as you heard, Microsoft just bought Activision-Blizzard for an astounding $68 billion. And I wanted to make a video real quick about, hey, what does this mean? What is this deal? How does this impact me in the short term? How does this impact me in the long term? What does this mean for me, the everyday PogChamp gamer? So I went to business school. I like this stuff and I'm really interested in it and the potential implications on an everyday and long-term basis. So I figured I'd throw together a quick video, maybe educate you a little bit, ask some questions myself, have you guys ask me some questions, let me know your feedback. And I have a little short, little notepad agenda of what I want to talk about here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So Microsoft, of course, owns Xbox and bought Activision-Blizzard for $68 billion with a B, almost 69 billion. Nice. That is a lot of money. There's a reason, probably, that deal went through for $68 billion. Most recently, Disney bought 21st Century Fox for $71 billion. Now, why is that relevant? Because we have a thing in our country called antitrust practices. Now, what does that mean? Let's do a quick Google on what antitrust means. The antitrust laws prescribe unlawful mergers and business practices in general terms, leaving courts to decide which ones are illegal based on the facts of each case. Essentially, these are in place to make sure that we don't have monopolies in place. Well, Sully, what's a monopoly? Well, it's not just a board game, it's actually a real thing. A monopoly is described by Irving Fisher. It is a market with the absence of competition. So what does that mean? That means there is one provider of a good or service with no other choices. In a monopolistic market, you would have one choice. So why do I care about the Disney and 21st Century Fox deal? Quite frankly, the Disney and 21st Century Fox deal went through. It was questioned, but it was not stopped. So what does this mean in the long term? In the long term, if these types of deals continue to go through and these large companies continue to buy up other companies, we could, I am not saying this will happen, but we could have a gaming market owned by one company. Now, what does that mean? That means Microsoft, if they continue to have the resources they have and grow as a company, could have the resources and not face the legal issue of buying a Sony or buying Nintendo. And us as consumers have one choice. So what does this deal mean for you in the short term and the long term? Well, in the short term, quite frankly, not a whole lot. You'll probably see a lot more games added to Game Pass if you're a Game Pass subscriber, which is great. And if you're not, maybe even the more reason to go subscribe to it because you like the games that are being added and there's value there for the cheap price that they're offering right now. But in the long term, and this is where I really like to dissect what this means for the industry as a whole, not just the everyday sit down and play video games, but if these types of deals keep going through, not being questioned, not being stopped by the DOJ, and enforcing the antitrust laws we have in place, you could see a world where, again, you have one provider. Microsoft owns 99% of the gaming IPs, and you can only purchase games and play games through their service. So how do we get from the short term to the long term? What does that look like, Ron? Because that's not going to happen overnight. Obviously, it's not. I want to take you back maybe 10 years when Netflix was still a DVD company transitioning to this streaming company. Netflix was relatively cheap as a service for streaming. You got okay content and you paid $7, something like that, for the service a month, which is cheap. However, in the long run, they continued to buy up content, buy up studios, produce more of their own content by buying these studios and these IPs. And what happened? Every year, price went up, price went up, price went up, price went up. And thankfully in the streaming industry, there's actually a lot of competition, right? There's Disney Plus, there's Paramount now, there's Netflix, there's Hulu, the list goes on. So you have a good market to choose from when you're choosing what entertainment to consume. But in the gaming industry, you have what? For the console war specifically, Xbox, Nintendo, Sony. So in the medium term, what do I think will happen? You will see Xbox continue to push Game Pass, continue to push Game Pass PC, continue to put these new IPs onto their service, continue to make more and more things exclusive, and continue to probably raise the price of Game Pass. I think the days of a $15 Game Pass are likely long gone. Maybe not this year, maybe when the deal's closed, maybe by the end of 2023, but you're going to see that price continue to go up, continue to go up, continue to go up. Why would that happen? Well, because they're delivering you a lot more value. You have less choice in the market. And I actually saw a comment on my TikTok yesterday that said, oh, but they tried to do that with Xbox Live a couple years ago. And everyone just said, oh, we're not going to be paying this. Why would I pay this? And they pulled it back. Well, in this theoretical environment, when one company owns all the resources and owns all the IPs and the content, you don't have that choice. Why were you able to push back as an everyday consumer and say, I'm not going to pay that? Because you had choice. They knew you could go to Sony. You could go to Nintendo. You could go to Steam and no longer be a consumer of Microsoft content. If these deals keep happening and Microsoft keeps getting resources and buying up companies, that's not going to be an option for you as a consumer. You're going to have no leverage. Competition gives you leverage. This is what I do for a living outside of making content, is negotiations, placing contracts. When you have no competition, you have no leverage. So in the long term, instead of asking yourself, oh, is this going to make COD exclusive? You should be asking yourself, am I going to have one sole provider of all of my gaming? In the short term, quite frankly, I don't give a shit if COD is exclusive. That should be the least of your worries. The most of your worries should be, am I going to have to pay $50 a month for Game Pass because they have all the games? That's what you should be asking. Microsoft is not in business to make friends with you, with Sony, or with Nintendo. They're there to make money and deliver value to their shareholders. And this is how they do that. Can we stop it at the grassroots level? Probably not. All we can do is speak out about every time one of these deals go through. We have to look at it on how it impacts us in the long run, not just the short run. So I hope this was informative for you. I hope it helped. I hope it helped answer some questions, maybe shed some light on things you weren't thinking about. Let me know what you think in the comments. Ask me questions, provide feedback. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Thanks for joining, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.